Squirrel cat. Hey. Yeah, you. Yeah, she's just kind of looking at me like, why did you put me on camera? It's amazing how cats have that look like, yeah, I'm here. What do you want? Ah! I told you I'd be back. Wahaha. And today, I'm going to be piece by piece working on a video to make another set of handles for this knife from Wood River called a Modified Skinner. Now, I've already made a handle for the knife. Now, the reason I didn't make a video for these these handles, two pieces, is because it took me forever with my medical issues to do this handle, so you guys would have been about halfway through a half-hour video and going, I'm over it. Next. So, I don't want to bore you guys to tears with that, but did a Kookaburra handle. I did a sapwood grain match across the frame of the knife so that you can see that the handles were cut from a single piece of wood, and this red color for the Kookaburra is actually the natural color of the wood, no stain involved. I did some oversized hardware to give it more of an industrial look, because the hardware that came with the knife was crap. It came with these star drive screws where one was hollow, one screwed into the other screw, and you needed a star drive wrench, or basically their version of a Torx wrench for both screws, and you got one wrench. Yeah, that, and I'm not sure if the camera will focus on this, but I ended up cracking this handle drilling this small screw because the drill grabbed it and split it from end to end right on the grain. Luckily it split clean enough so that I could glue it back together, and since this knife is for me, crack gives it character, right? But anyways, moving on. Been working on other projects while I've been down and out with my medical issues, and one of them, as you can see, is a fidget hand spinner. Now, all this uses is a piece of 1/4 inch oak that I'm using one bolt nut and a skateboard bearing. Yeah, they're cheap reds skate bearings, so they they don't spin very well, but they spin well enough for this project. Now, I'm just using Allen head bolts and nuts for the as I almost drop it on the floor, for the weight, so it has enough momentum to spin. And it's okay. I cut this out on the scroll saw, and it's not exactly balanced, so you can feel that little bit of vibration in your hand. And if you're a minor perfectionist like me, I know it doesn't show in my videos, but it's there, it drives you up a freaking wall. So I'm sure you can hear that the bearing is not exactly happy because it got a little bit of grit in it somewhere. So, but it's balanced well enough. You can see, whoops, as I almost drop it again. I have dropped this on the floor at the local Pete's Coffee, and it hit right on the nut and snapped right where the bearing is. But again, I got lucky. It snapped right on the grain, as wood tends to do, and I was able to glue it back together, and it still works. And now the bearing is permanent because it's glued in. Oh well. I can always cut out another one. But anyways, so what I'm going to be using for the next handle for that Modified Skinner knife is this beautiful, what Woodcraft is calling Roman olive wood, basically Italian olive wood. Now, it doesn't look like much now. This is, as I usually do, I buy a cheap turning blank and then cut it up into slices for my smaller projects. So instead of doing the hole in the handle like I did for this knife, I'm going to do a solid handle, because that hole was a pain in the butt. Because once you cut that hole out on the scroll saw, sanding an internal hole so that it doesn't have any splinters or rough edges that'll grab your hand while you're using the knife, not the easiest thing. I didn't think this one all the way through, so, yeah. It's an artistic handle. There you go. Now this one, the only problem I'm having with this wood is it is barely wide enough to make the handle. As I yell at the camera. So, take the knife out of the sheath, it works better. I'm hyper because I have caffeine in me, and I haven't made a actual woodworking video in a while, so I'm a little bit nervous to get back into the swing of things. But as you can see, it literally, the piece of wood is just wide enough that I can get away with cutting a handle out of it. So, anywho, I've already sliced down the wood for the thickness for the two handles, but like I did with this handle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the shape of the handle all at once. And do that on the bandsaw, because cutting that thick of a piece of wood on the scroll saw, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, if I have a heavy enough. Yeah, we're back to normal. I'm starting to sputter again. Anyways, I'm going to be cutting out the shape of the handle on the bandsaw, rough cutting it on the bandsaw, and then using our spindle sander to get the shape of it, and then the belt sander to profile it so that, you know how I do. But I think what I'm going to do on the solid handles, instead of having it smooth like this, I may put in a couple of finger indents. Like, there's always this massive one here from the shape of the knife, but then I was thinking about putting another one here and here. I may or may not, because the hardware gets in the way, and then all of a sudden you're exposing screws, and you don't want that rubbing on your fingers while you're trying to use the knife. So like I said, I'm back. I'm feeling better. The meds are working. The stuff my doctor put me on for the nerve pain is finally controlling my nerve pain for the most part. So I'm active again. Eventually I'm going to be doing lathe work again, because it's been a slow process to rebuild my confidence with woodworking tools, especially things like the bandsaw. Because, boy, as I trip over my office chair, after I went to the hospital for the congestive heart failure, my hands shook a lot, and I was really safety conscious about, am I going to slip and run my fingers into the blade or what? So I just kind of avoided all of the heavy woodworking tools like the bandsaw, the lathe, things like that, until that stopped. So I'm back, rock solid again, and I'm ready to get back to it. I mean, we'll see what happens, I guess.